Really, when I first initially said to myself in the world, I have a problem with cocaine, like this is going to kill me and I don't want to die. And it was the first time in my life I had ever articulated or really even thought, I don't want to die. Because it's always been, I want to die. Like,
Hmm.
that didn't scare me. So it was even more strength that required me to say, I want to live. So it was once I did that, it's like my brain kicked in and said, okay, we're dealing with a whole new person now.
Yeah,
We can
yeah,
share this with her. This isn't going to like tip her over the edge into suicide. We're going to,
yeah.
she has some compassion for herself, some love for herself, some respect for herself. She's going to be able to handle this. So that was when it all started.
Do you ever feel like no matter what you do, it's not good enough? Like perfect is the only standard, but you're still left feeling behind? Perfectionism keeps us stuck. It robs us of peace, of our joy, and the freedom to just be. That's why I created Beauty of Imperfection, Good is Enough, a guided workbook to help you let go of the pressure, quiet your inner critic, and start celebrating progress over perfection. Inside, you'll find tools that remind you your worth has never depended on being perfect. It's time to embrace the beauty of imperfection because good really is enough. Let me remind you, you are always worthy. You already are. Get your copy of my workbook today. Emotionally unavailable. Okay, so I read your profile again this morning.
Okay.
And so basically, the way I would kind of summarize what you're doing right now
Mm-hmm.
is suc- you got some success, some fame from a reality show that you did,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're using that platform to talk about things that actually matter to you. Is that a fair summary?
That's pretty
Oh,
concise. Absolutely.
okay. Okay, awesome. And that was really the energy that I just kind of got. And so I didn't really like prepare in any different way, but I was like, well shit, I'm gonna ask you some shit then. Um well, because let me just say this. So I'm going to pull this back up because I read what you wrote in the little thing where Calendly's like, "Is there anything you want me to know?" And I was like, "Oh, damn, I don't usually read these, but I happen to this time because I'm usually like, you don't actually have to fill that out. They won't let me not put it there. You know what I mean?"
Right. Right.
But you wrote stuff here that wasn't in your Podmatch
Mm-hmm.
profile, and so I was like, "Damn, that's crazy."
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like we've experienced a lot of the same stuff. So I
Really?
have some questions around childhood. Yeah,
Okay.
because I am also a survivor of childhood sex
Okay.
abuse, domestic violence. I haven't had like full blown addiction, but I have a real dopamine seeking personality and love to escape. So I hit a borderline on addiction several times in my lifetime. But I wouldn't, it would be unfair for me to categorize it as like a full blown
Yeah.
addiction
Yeah.
because that's not my platform. Lots lots of self-diagnosis for sure. But I was too afraid of like the mental health system, even though I'm a mental health professional, to go and get any sort of diagnosis.
Right.
So yeah, I was like, oh, we have a lot in common here, honey.
Really?
So I kind of wanted to start with like, because some people experience childhood sexual abuse because it just happens to so many of us, but some of us like me, it happened because I was put in lots of situations by my really immature slash addict mom
Mm.
to be exposed to things like that. So I wanted to start with like whatever you're comfortable with. I mean,
Sure.
I know you're on a bigger stage and there's stuff that you probably don't want to share, so whatever you're
Sure.
comfortable with, kind of what your childhood was like.
Yeah. The interesting thing about my story, and maybe you'll relate, maybe you won't, is I didn't know about it until like 3, 4 years ago when I got sober.
Mm,
Now I hadn't been an addict my entire life. I mean, maybe I had some
sure.
forms, but the cocaine didn't get me until I, was reintroduced to it, if you will, back in 2017,
Yeah.
because I lived, 25 years taking care of my kids and trying to be a wife and doing all that mess. But, so I had and it plays into the addiction because obviously I was escaping something. I just didn't know what it was. And I got sober, and it was a couple weeks I had been clean, and I was standing in my bathroom. And all the really like life-changing epiphanies occur in my bathroom for whatever reason. And, I just started having, like, this slideshow in my brain, and I now know those are flashbacks, but I like to call them
Mhm.
slideshows because these images were coming to me one after the other, and they were all a collection of very distant memories and flashbacks that I had had throughout my life. And in isolation, those images didn't really tell me much. They left me very confused. And I can remember having this thought about my grandfather and not wanting to be around him, like wanting to get away. And I was sad when we moved and he told me, "Oh, don't worry, you'll still come visit next weekend." And I remember thinking,
Mm.
"Damn, I thought I had escaped him." I never knew why I always thought that, why I had that memory, because I thought I had loved my grandfather. He died when I was 9 of cancer, and he died very abruptly, and I was devastated. But it wasn't until I was a 50-something that I realized, "Oh my god, this is what he had done to me." And I have
Yeah.
no real explicit memories. The most explicit memory I have, I'll share with you. It's a flashback or a memory, a recollection of him lying in the bed without a shirt on and with, those old-timey, pajama bottoms that were, like, light blue, and they had the snaps that went down the front,
Uh-huh.
and they were open, and I could see, like, dark, I assume hair, I don't know, but it was just dark.
Probably.
That is the most salacious, explicit memory I have of him. And then all of
Wow.
my other memories are, tied to all of that trauma. The disassociating, the knowing about the lamp that hung above his bed, and I can recall it
Yep.
in immense detail, down to the number of tassels that hung from it, and how
Mhm.
the cord and the extension cord draped down the wall into the plug. Like, I memorized that, and what I'm told is that's what you do when you're being harmed and your brain can't take it, you fixate on something outside of yourself to protect you so you survive. So, it was
Yeah.
several of those memories and some other random flashbacks that had never made any sense, but in the context of, "Oh my god, he hurt me," it made a lot of
Yeah.
sense. So, it literally
Yeah.
was an epiphany, and I had a moment where I went, "Oh my god." He abused me, and I had this very visceral response. I just started vomiting. Like, it
Yeah.
was just a release, and I started screaming and, all the
Oh, yeah.
licks that go along with that. And
Well, because you were also like, at the same time releasing the trauma, like, through your screams, releasing the energy of those experiences.
to a
Yeah.
great degree, exactly. And see,
Yeah.
I was very young. This happened when I suspect when I was very, very, very young. And
Mhm.
so, a lot of those memories didn't form for whatever reason. Either I was too young to form them or they were too traumatizing and dangerous to me to hold on to them. But my brain was smart enough to hold on to enough so
Yeah.
that one day when I expressed the smallest amount of compassion for myself, which I had never done my entire life,
Mhm.
because I had spent my whole life hating myself and not
Mhm.
really knowing.
Were you aware of that? Were you aware that you felt like you weren't good enough and too much and all of the and fundamentally unlovable? Because I can say that now in hindsight, but I wasn't aware of it.
I just knew there was a complete discomfort in my skin. I felt like an
Mhm.
alien. I felt like I had been born at the wrong time in the wrong body to the wrong people. Like, I never felt like I belonged here, and I knew that. I didn't know the depth of my self-hatred until I got sober and I started talking to a doctor about it. And she was like, "God, you're so mean to yourself," because I would recount some of the things that I say, my internal dialogue, and
Yeah.
it was vicious. And it was so normal to me that I had lost the perspective of just how mean I was being to myself. Because I have the
Yeah.
capacity for kindness and empathy for other people that seems limitless. But for myself, It's just a straight dagger to the heart every time.
Oh, yeah. Well, and what I learned too is, like, as compassionate and empathetic as I was to other people, the second they messed up, I held them to the same cross of perfection that I held
Mm.
myself. Like, I understand now it was all negativity bias and that I was confirming my own narratives that I couldn't trust people, that no one was ever going to show up for me, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah, right?
Right.
But like that part right there is actually the latest in my growth and evolution was I got the opportunity to practice some, staying safe within myself in tough conversations because I've over the last year and a half, I've kind of been more isolated and it's just happened to become that way because I work from home now and blah blah blah. But also I'm like not great at sharing my shit in real time. So if I'm going through something stressful, I'm usually like a overanalyze process, but overanalyze, intellectualize, minimalize, trivialize, dismiss, whatever. And even though I would consider my wounds healed, these are behaviors I'm still working through. So I've just kind of started practicing that in real time. I'm going to be brave enough to say, like, I'm going through something. So I got to practice it. But the triggers happened to where I was like, this is why I don't tell people anything. And I knew I didn't, da da da. And then I was like, "Oh, honey, anytime you're saying something like that, like, you're just confirming a bias. So what are you actually
Afraid of.
doing here?" And I realized I felt like accountability was shame, um,
Mhm.
belittling, even though I would never actually say anything to someone's face if I was like I just cut them off. That was kinda my game. It was like, "Oh, okay, you suck. You're not showing up for me. You're toxic," whatever. Really, I was the toxic one, but whatevs. So yeah, I didn't realize, like, until I was really kinda reverse engineering the whole conversation that that's exactly what I was doing.
Mhm.
Did you struggle with in your relationships that way, or did you kinda tend to pull people closer?
Well, I pulled them so close that I would strangle them and then get mad when they left and then cut them
Mhm.
off. My cutoff
Yeah.
game is very strong, and I know
Yeah.
that self-isolation game is part of the game. And that's part of
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
haven't healed either is because 'cause I'll cut a motherfucker off and never talk to you again and just act like you never fucking existed. Like, I have no
Yes.
problem doing that. I mean, I'm
I'm
talking
still
my own
working
mother,
on it, man.
my own mother, my own sister.
Uh-huh.
Like, it doesn't matter how fucking close you are. That cutoff game is on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I wanna be clear in saying I think that's okay when it's warranted.
Right.
Like, there are some family members that are just fucking awful, and no matter how many times you say, like, "This is not healthy, this is painful, this is whatever," and they have no, like, concern about that, cut them off, who cares? But I'm, like, cutting off real well-meaning people, that are, like
Aw.
I mean, not
Right.
all of them,
It's
but,
hard to get
I
close to
was
you.
so quick to it.
It's hard to get
Yes,
close
yeah,
to you.
and honestly, it wasn't until a couple weeks ago I was on someone else's show, and she framed it like, "Oh, yeah, so you were just very protective over yourself." And it's not like I hadn't heard those words before, but that day, it
Mhm.
just, like, made so much more sense to me than it ever has, and I was like, "Oh, that's exactly what I was" like, yeah, I was absolutely I knew I had surrounded myself with emotionally unavailable people my entire life, people who were more than willing to let me be their hero and try to save them and give them money I didn't have and all of the things so that I didn't have to focus on myself. I have had plenty of friendships like that my entire life. I've done decent on intimate, like,
Good.
long-term relationships. I did plenty of dumb shit with men who did not deserve any time with me.
Mhm.
And like it's bad when you're starting to like set rules for yourself like, at least make them buy you dinner or at least like, make them use a bed and not the car. Shit like that. So like I've done plenty of shit,
Right.
but in terms of the people that I married, I'm on my second marriage, but,
Okay.
they're pretty stable,
Good.
calm, like, really the exact opposite of me. I've always been chaos, like, everywhere I go. But, like, I really struggle with not pushing people
Mhm.
away. I mean, I just really didn't see that about myself at all.
Yeah.
And thank you for being so open about like discovering this experience because I really like the way you have framed it. Because what I was thinking, because interestingly, in my bathroom 2 days ago,
Mhm.
I was standing there and I was thinking about previous like sexual abuse in my childhood.
Mm,
And I know that I was less than 3 years old the first time,
mm,
and I was like 5 the second time. Both babysitters, which I think was adolescent males, both of
mm,
them.
mm.
And I have very little memory of it as well. But I remember the same now that I remembered then. And it was weird because the reason I was thinking about it is I was like, I know that then I knew there was penetration,
Mm.
but I don't remember that. I just remember remembering it. You know what I mean? And why I was like questioning the whole experience a couple days ago is I was like, I can't believe more damage wasn't done, that like I don't remember pain. You know what I mean? Like things like that. And I think because I can remember all these weird details too, I must have done the exact
Blocked
same
it out.
thing,
You
just
blocked it.
like dissociated. And then, yeah, I mean, but I had shared my abuse with my mom and it was not taken seriously. I tried to share it with my grandma, not taken seriously, like it because other family members had received higher levels of abuse in their mind, like more legitimized. I'm like, I don't know, dude. I think someone doing this to a 2-year-old is pretty fucked up, but whatevs.
That's
You know,
pretty
okay.
fucking bad. I'm not sure how much
Yeah.
worse you can get.
Right. I think because there was male on male violence with another family member, that in some way was worse to my grandma. And so what I experienced was, and you know what else? I think in hindsight, I think it's because she experienced the same thing and had learned to minimalize and trivialize. Because whenever I started talking with uh, a, a distant cousin, like, ancestry says we're third because we share a great grandma. Like that's her grandma and my great grandma. But I always thought we were second cousins because she was my mom's first cousin. But as she started to like tell me about what she knew to be true about their childhood, I was like, that is not at all what she fucking told me. So like I think she blocked out her entire negative childhood. So, but I think somewhere in there she knew that had happened to her too, and I think by her dad. So
Mm.
it makes sense now, but like at the time I was like, it's gotta be that to be legitimized, and then we just never talked about it again. After the last time that I tried to, like, get some sort of validation of, like, "I'm sorry that happened to you," or anything, we just never talked about it again.
Yeah, you just bury it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, you're saying then that it really kinda took getting sober before you dealt with any of your
Yeah,
shit.
I remember because I have a family 2 family members, 2 sisters that were abused as well, but growing up, I had known about one of them, and so I had always taken the attitude of how grateful I was that it had never happened to me. I thought with all the shit I've been through and all the problems I've caused and all the problems that have found me, that was one I escaped. Aren't I lucky? And I legitimately saw gratitude in that. I was like, oh, well, thank God of all the stuff. I don't have to worry about, that. So
Mhm.
then part of
Mhm.
that illumination was realizing that I was just so completely bamboozled by it because I literally had gone to the other extreme of being grateful I hadn't experienced it, and now having to realize not only had I, but now I've got to deal with it. It was just so much. It was so much.
Yeah. Have you I'm gonna assume you've discussed this with your family?
Some members of my family, yeah. Most of them believed me and were supportive. Several or 2 didn't. Um, I think
Yeah.
maybe she thought I was trying to rain on her parade. I don't know. But I don't talk to her to this day. It's been 4 or 5 years I haven't spoken to her, and, my mother had already passed away, so that wasn't anything that I could, you know, check with her on, although
Yeah.
I'm convinced that she had been abused by her father, my grandfather as well.
Oh, I'm sure if he was willing to do that with you, he did that with his own children
Well, and I
too.
suspect I know I wasn't the first, obviously, but I suspect I was the last, and because he died when I was 9, and there weren't any other young girls in our family. I was the youngest of the 5 kids that he was around, so I do take some comfort knowing I was the last.
Yeah, yeah. See, this is a conversation that I've had with my husband about men of like that I got like a yucky feeling around.
Uh-huh.
And he's been like, "Yeah, but you would think, like, if there were girls that he had done that to, then, as many people as he's been around, someone would have said something by now." And I'm like, "Uh-uh." So, he listens to every show, so I'm gonna be like, "Do you see how nobody fucking said a word? And we know you're not the only one. You're not the only one. And there's a reason that you blocked it out, and you're not the only one who did that too, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, let this be a lesson that, like, if you get, like, a fucking yucky feeling around someone, you don't have to have proof of shit. There's a reason that your intuition is, like, screaming at you, "Don't do that."
Because it's programmed to be sensitive to that to keep you alive. Because your whole life, you
Yes,
have had to figure out how to stay alive. At least that's what your nervous system
absolutely.
thinks, right? And that's
Mhm.
that what makes you so in tune with a room when you walk in. Like, I know immediately in the room who the danger is and who's
Yeah.
full of shit. And,
Did you used to ignore it, though?
no, I've been always very, very in tune and very much a slave to my emotions. So I kinda go
Okay.
with how I feel on everything, and, I won't say that, my intuition or my ability to read people has saved me from issues, but it's
No, I feel you on that, I
through
feel you on
them.
that. But you trusted your intuition?
I do now. I do now.
Okay,
I used
okay.
to override it and say, "Quit being so mean," or "Quit being so judgmental,"
Yes,
or "Quit being so
yes.
sensitive." Now
Ugh, sensitive, yes.
now I completely trust it. I if
Yeah.
somebody gives me the ibby-jibbies, like, it's game over. Like, I don't even fuck around with it anymore. I don't even care if I'm
Yeah, me
rude.
like, even in terms of people coming on this show, when they ask, I just go with my intuition,
Oh,
literally
yeah.
every time. I'm like,
Mhm.
because for a while I said yes to
Yeah.
everyone, and
Yeah.
then I had a couple of run-ins where I was like, "Shouldn't have done that." So now I'm like, before I just hit accept, I'm like, "Let's feel into this,
Right.
yes or no." And it's mostly a yes, but there's been a couple that I'm like, "I don't know why, but it just feels like a no for me." But that's how much I trust my intuition now
Good.
because of how many times I fucking did the exact same thing you're saying where I was like and especially, like, run-ins with men,
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I'm sure I'm just feeling this way because I have a history of sexual abuse," and then boom, they prove me right because I didn't listen to myself,
Exactly.
which I don't, like, now blame myself, but of course I did then,
Sure.
and it just piled on to shame because you experience shame anyway, and then, like, "Oh, I should have this," well, because 'cause we're also conditioned that everything's our fault,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
yeah.
Responsibility for everything. Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, and just that when you were talking earlier too about just, like, always feeling different and things like that, like, I just really hear that disconnect from your body that we've all kind of been through until we come back home to
Mhm.
ourselves, you know?
Right.
So when in your recovery process do you feel like you really started to come home to yourself and be, like, connected to you?
Um, After rehab, that's when it started. Really, when I first initially said to myself in the world, "I have a problem with cocaine. Like, this is gonna kill me, and I don't wanna die." And it was the first time in my
Yeah.
life I had ever articulated or really even thought, "I don't wanna die," because it's always been, "I wanna die." Like,
Mhm.
that didn't scare me.
Yeah.
So it was even more strength that required me to say, "I wanna live." So it was once I did that, it's like my brain kicked in and said, "Okay, we're dealing with a whole new person now.
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
share this with her. This isn't gonna, like, tip her over the edge into suicide, you know? We're gonna."
Yeah.
She has some compassion for herself, some love for herself, some respect for herself. She's going to be able to handle this. So that was when it all started, and I was God, that was 21, so I was 48. Oh, yeah, that happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really incredible, honestly,
Mhm.
because You're right. So much of what I've learned in the last couple of years, I would not have been prepared to learn before. And I'm sure I can even pinpoint different times when the universe or whatever you want to call it's trying to get me to see something that I was like, no, no, pretty sure they're all the problem actually still. They're all the problem, not me. When when I realized, I mean, the remorse I felt almost immediately when I was just like gut checked into the understanding that I'm the fucking
You're the
problem
common
here. And
denominator.
also that I had made myself a victim,
Mhm.
like, of everything because I didn't see myself that way because I was the strong one. I was
Mhm.
resilient. I was
Right.
the golden child of my family. I'm one of the only people in my entire extended family who are fucking not what my family is, you know?
Right.
I'm the only one who went to college out of like so many. The After me a couple of did, and that was really cool. And I do have but probably five, one hand worth of family members that aren't the way like my parents died from addiction very
Yeah.
young.
It's
My dad was neither of them made it to 40, and I was 15 when my dad died. Yeah, he died 10 days after his 38th birthday, and then we thought my mom was gonna make it to 40, but she died 4 months before her 40th birthday. Yes, because that's how much they had abused themselves for so many years, so many
well, they
years.
were hurt.
And so
Mm.
because I didn't follow that path, I thought I was fine. And none of us really understood trauma or the effects on us until the last 10 years, I don't believe. At least not here, like in the West. I was interviewing someone yesterday or the day before who like grew up with Eastern culture and they know so much more than we do.
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm a study of them now because man, they really got it together in a way that we're just now kind of getting it. But yeah, we just didn't have a single clue that we could be this impacted by childhood events. And then if you have like a ton of those experiences, like CPTSD is very
The real
real.
thing.
And so working through all the ways every way that I exist is impacted by the level of trauma from childhood. And man, that was very eye-opening because I had a client who was messaging me this morning was like, "Is this something I'm always going to be dealing with?" And I'm like, "I mean, yeah, like that you we're always going to like for a second be worried someone's mad at us or that like we're in trouble or what, you know." And it made me start to like drift off and think about all the ways in which I still do that,
Mhm.
but it doesn't, like, hurt me now. It's just like, "Oh, okay, I see what's happening. Let me feel it. Let me release it," whatever.
Mhm.
What tools do you feel like were the most instrumental in getting you to where you are now?
Well, my doctor said something one time that absolutely rocked my world, and I'm embarrassed to even admit that I didn't know this, but she was like, "Your thoughts are not your beliefs." And I was like, "Huh? Well, I'm
Mhm.
thinking them. Doesn't that mean I believe them?" And she's like,
Mhm.
"No, honey." She's like, "Your thoughts, think of it like radio K-fuck. It's just sending out messages. It's just sending out a bunch of garbage. It's your job to engage your intellectual brain to decipher what's real, what's not, what's applicable, what isn't, what's relevant, what's needed. And you decipher that and you decide that. You get to choose." And I was like, "You mean I control my thoughts?" She's like, "Yes, you do." And I was like, "Fuck me, really?" Blew me away because up to that point, and I was 48, okay, when this was my addiction psychiatrist talking to me. And up until that point, if I'd had a thought that said do something, I did it. Like I thought every thought I had was actionable and was my beliefs.
Oh
So
my god.
yeah. So if
I love
I
that.
mean, this is how
Yes.
I lived my life because people always called me impulsive, spontaneous, brave, because
Yes.
I would just instinctively just do all this shit. Now, for the most part, I'm happy to say that those impulses and those to-dos in my brain were beneficial. Like, make straight A's, go to college, get a good job, make lots
Sure.
of money, take care of your children. In a lot of ways it helped. But as far as serving me, it did not because I
Mhm.
believed everything I thought, and what I thought were a really lot of awful things about myself. And when I realized I had control over that messaging and that I could redefine and alter that messaging, that was the most pivotal part of my life, I think.
Yeah. Oh god. When I learned these are just narratives created through programming. That's not you talking to yourself. Because I was like, my self talk. And yes, it's self talk, but you know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Like, I wasn't connected to the thoughts at
mhm.
all. They just happened. I had no control, no understanding. And I had to go through this whole process of externalizing the voices and giving them a character and all of the
Mm,
things to understand fully that's not you.
exactly.
You are your intuition and your higher self. That is all the bullshit that other people in this world have programmed you to believe.
That's a good way to think
Did
about
you was
it.
is that
Mhm,
basically
mhm.
what you kinda did too?
Exactly, because
Yeah.
now when I have a thought, it's a moment of reflection instead of moment of action. It's,
Yes.
"Oh, okay, no, I really don't need to do that right now," or, "No, I don't really think that. That's not I have evidence to the contrary. I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not stupid. I
Mhm.
have test scores. I have things that show I'm not an idiot, so quit thinking that." And, at first, it was very intentional and very cumbersome to do that, but
Yes.
the more you do it, the more reflective and the more graceful it gets. Because now I have that thought, and I go, no, dumb, yeet, on to the next thing." You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. And I will say, I was just it's nice when someone speaks the same language because I totally get what you mean by
Okay, good.
that. Because um, I do the exact same thing, especially, like, I have wild fluctuations in my thinking processes during PMS, just
Ooh,
through PMDD, you know?
okay.
And I've had to learn to not give them attention at
Mm,
all. Like, I don't they are happening because they can and not because I need to even get curious about them. There are some things I still find like, oh, I probably need to be asking myself why that's coming up, but the nonsense is that. It's nonsense, and so I will immediately do what you're saying, which is, "Nope, you do not get my attention. No, you do
right?
not, because that is stupid that you are thinking that." But I don't think that that's, like, dismissing
No,
myself
not at
either,
all.
you know? Like, I think there's times when we do go when especially if we're having a response to somebody else,
Mm,
like their behavior, we're like, "Oh, I feel this about it," and it's, like, really strong feelings. I work to not, like, be as triggered by things. So as I become triggered, I'm like, why? Because that used to be my truth as well. Whatever it was I was feeling, that was the truth. And you could not tell me anything else. Like, no, you're being a dick right now. Or no, you don't love me. Or no, you're mean. Whatever it was like, no, and no, I'm right. And you're not. So again, protective factors there.
exactly.
But yeah, I love that you we both have the same understanding because there are not like it's not needed to constantly analyze
Mm.
your shit either.
Well, it's exhausting.
Sometimes you can just move on.
It's exhausting.
Yes, exactly.
And what
Mhm.
I've learned with respect to other people is I just when people start in or start doing something and I'm like, I just think, "Come on, show me more of you. Give me more data that I can work with so I can assess who you really are. Because this ain't about me.
Mhm.
You're calling me a bitch and a whore. This has nothing to do with my attitude or my sexual proclivities. This is all about you,
Right.
girl. What are you trying to tell me
Mhm.
about you?" And when
Absolutely.
you turn
That's been a good understanding
yeah, and
too.
when you have that kind of power, that is powerful to not allow other people to dictate how you feel and how you behave.
Yeah.
It's a power move of the highest order because now I'm like, try to piss me off. Good luck. You're not going to. Because I've
Yes.
already been through so much worse shit and survived it and thrived through it and excelled. Like, bitch, this ain't nothing. And sometimes I'll laugh
Yeah.
because I'll be like, I know I may look like this and you think I'm this sweet little woman that doesn't know anything, that's never had a hard life. I'm like, bitch, I grew up beating the shit out of my sister that was 7, 8 years older than me. Like, I'm a violent
Yeah.
fucker. Like, I grew up in violence. I'm talking life or death, beat them up, put them in the hospital, violence. Like, I have a rage in me that if I were to
Mhm.
ever say, "Okay, let's flip the crazy switch and just let this bitch go," like, it's over, dude. Somebody's dying and going to jail. Like, and people have
Mhm.
no respect for that because they don't know.
They don't know. They don't
So part
know.
of it
No, I totally
So
get
part of
that.
it is I have
Yeah.
compassion for this unknown person that is barking up the wrong fucking tree. And sometimes I'll just laugh out
Yes.
loud and walk away because I'm like, oh,
Well,
honey,
because you also know nobody behaves
what
that way when they're not, like, sick,
crazy?
hurt people.
I am
Yeah, I mean,
fucking
like,
crazy. Like I get the
I
paperwork
don't
to
need to
prove
take
it.
that personally.
Right. I'm like,
Mhm.
bitch, you have no idea. Walk away now while you can. So
I often wish that was my response. Honestly, if I'm being very serious, that's actually something I was talking to someone about a couple days ago on the show
mhm.
because I've always been a freezer fawn because I would internalize
Oh,
every word that everyone said. You know what I mean? I would just take it so personally and and everyone must like me and blah blah blah. Obviously, I'm not that person
right.
anymore, but I don't still like get into confrontations easily.
No.
Like, there's even been things on this show that, like, I've had a couple of men on that I was like, I should have thought about this more before I had you on. You know what I mean? And I don't like confront in the moment. I've had people challenge me and I fucking love that. Like
Right.
the person I was talking to a couple days ago, she's like, "Well, let me just," and I've had several people like, "Well, can I tell you what I'm hearing when you say that?" Things like that. I love
Right.
that. I cannot do it. I fucking cannot do it. It's not like I want to be more of a fighter sometimes, but I don't have that. I don't have that thing. I don't know why. I
Good.
wish I did,
Good. That's a
but
good thing.
I just
That's
don't.
a good thing. Mine is a buried rage that still kinda scares me some days, so that's good.
Yeah.
But it's like I've made the decision, unless I'm ready to go to prison, I don't unleash it, and I don't wanna go to prison, so I don't unleash it. Like, it is something that will
It
stay.
would not look good in
No,
person.
it
It
just
wouldn't.
wouldn't be a good outcome for me.
Mm-mm.
I got
No, I
kids
mean,
to get through college?
I kind of think, like, in the pinnacle of my mental health crisis, that was the closest, like, because I got a little crazy during that time, like, to where I was, like, kind of flying off the rails at people, but it felt good. It was the first time in my life I had ever released some of that outside of, like, with my family and
Mhm.
my closest people, because I do take every ounce of my shit out on them. That's just the truth. But, like, with people just out in the world, I would just, like, I didn't know how to really stand up for
Mm.
myself. So during the mental health crisis, I was doing it. And then it started to like escalate into like road rage,
Oh,
things like
Lord.
that. To where I was like, honey, we are about to really get ourselves in a situation here. We have really got to calm the fuck down. What are we doing? So then I was like working to regulate in a different way again.
Mhm,
But man, it is crazy the wild things that
mhm,
come out of you, eh, just from all of that deep-seated programming, all of the times that you didn't have a choice or a voice or autonomy, it can come flying out at the worst seconds. But to your point, peace is your currency, right? Like
right.
you found it and you don't want to give it up for people who are clearly on their own little journey of whatever that
Well,
is.
and
Y'all be in your lane, we'll be in
well,
mine.
they're on their own journey, and they're just at a different place in theirs than I am in mine, and we just don't match up right now, which is fine. I can respect that. Like, I don't have to hate you. I'm not jealous of
Yeah.
you. I'm not wanting to be you. I wish you the best. But I'm not gonna be a part of this process for you because, like, I'm way up here on my journey. You're right here.
Mhm.
So, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna take any steps back. I've gotta continue on. Good luck with yourself. Bye. And you keep it moving,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I love that.
And
Yeah.
one way to deal with
What
the road
is it
rage, because I relate to that
Yeah.
so I'm the nicest person, okay? I like to consider myself the nicest person. I get behind the wheel of my car and I turn into the biggest asshole ever.
You change, yeah.
And what I've started doing, and I don't always do it, but give them the benefit of the doubt. Someone passes you really fast and cuts you off, think they just got a phone call from their best bud that their wife is over there fucking their brother. You know, I
Yeah.
try to, like, come up with these crazy scenarios that's why they're acting that way and give them some room. They just need some,
Yeah.
and give them the benefit of the doubt that something really bad's going on for them, and it allows you to be more compassionate, and it allows you not to run over them.
I swear to you, I've just recently started doing this
Good.
because the first step for me was stop being in a hurry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm willing to be late now,
And
you
it's
know?
okay.
And then I had to understand, like, the other drivers on the road aren't doing anything to me, for me, at me, about me. They're driving the way they are driving. That has nothing to do with me. And like, we can make those things so personal, you know? So just recently, someone did something really crazy in front of me. It was like a weaving in and out of traffic, all this shit. And I was like, they are having a medical emergency or something. You know?
Exactly.
I was like, "That's not about
Right.
me." And it really isn't, and the fact that I ever made it about me is hilarious to me, but I did recognize I get in survival mode very easily
Mhm.
when I'm in a hurry, so I just don't get in a hurry now. I just try to stay very present and do what I'm doing and stay chill because I don't need to flip that switch, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't need to get escalated. Even if I'm never gonna do anything about
Right.
it, I internally am just, like, raging, and for what? It's a fucking drive, you know?
It's not worth your investment of time and energy because you're not getting any kind of return on it, so don't do it.
So true.
Yeah.
That's a great way to frame that.
Yep.
Okay, if you had one piece of advice for your younger self, what would it be?
Ah, God, you're gonna make me get emotional. Um, I don't know if it's so much advice, but I would just sit her down and tell her she's enough.
Yeah, I resonate with that. I had to do inner child work and say, "You were always special." Like, that was my thing, was I never felt special, I never felt like anyone chose me ever in my entire life, and I had to say, like, "You were always chosen, and none of that shit was ever
It
about you,"
wasn't your
you know?
fault.
Yeah, it wasn't your fault. Yeah. Well, is there any, like, final words that you would like to
Uh,
and also tell us where we can find you, what you're doing, shit like that?
yeah, well, it's like I always talk and tell people, this too shall pass, and I try to remember that too. Like, even right now, I get emotional, but,
Yeah.
you're stronger than you know, and shit will just go on. You just gotta keep after it. You just don't give up, you know?
Yes. Yeah, don't give up is beautiful because, well, first of all, strong people cry. We cry. You made me cry, so that's
Mhm.
fine. Um, but if I had given up, I wouldn't have received the book that changed my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, if you keep holding on, there's gonna be that one piece of information that just makes it all click
Right.
together for you, whatever that is for whoever's listening. Like,
Right.
keep holding on, keep looking too, because maybe it's this podcast, maybe something that one of us has said today is gonna make you
Yeah,
feel like, "Oh, okay," you
exactly.
know? But whatever it is, don't give
Don't
up.
give up. Just, remember this too
Yeah,
shall pass. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I've loved
Yeah,
meeting
so good to
you.
meet
Thank you so
you.
much for coming on.
Thank
This was
you.
so fun.
Absolutely. I enjoyed our
Um,
time.
I'm gonna push stop, but if you could just stay for
Sure.
one
Yeah,
second.
sure.
Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.